It was the 30th of June, 2006, in Berlin, and 72,000 people packed into the Olympiastadion as Germany faced Argentina in a World Cup quarterfinal that neither nation had ever lost on penalties. The first half was tense and cagey, with barely a shot between them, the kind of football that tightens every chest in the building. Then the second half cracked open in the 49th minute when a corner swung in from Riquelme and Ayala climbed above close to head it home, putting Argentina in front and sending Germany behind for the very first time in the entire tournament. And then came the twist that almost no one expected, because Argentina's goalkeeper went down injured and had to come off, which meant the backup keeper, a man with only 3 caps who had not played a single minute of this World Cup, was thrown straight into the cauldron of a quarterfinal. The clock kept ticking through 70 minutes, then 75, with Germany throwing everything forward, until finally, with just 10 minutes to go, Borowski flicked on a cross, and Klose rose to meet it with a diving header that leveled the match at 1 apiece and sent the entire Olympiastadion into raptures, his 5th goal of the tournament. Extra time brought 30 more minutes of exhausted, end-to-end football, with Colaccini rattling the crossbar from 45 yards, but neither side could find a winner, and so it all came down to penalties. And this is where it became legend, because the German goalkeeper, Jens Lehmann, reached into his sock and pulled out a small slip of paper covered in notes on exactly where each Argentine player liked to place his shot. Neuville scored, and so did Cruz, and then Ballack scored, before Ayala stepped up, and Lehmann guessed correctly, and dove to his left to save it. Podolski buried his, Maxi Rodriguez answered, and then Cambiaso walked up needing to score to keep Argentina alive, and Lehmann saved it again, sending Germany through to the semi-final as the players sprinted across the pitch to mob their goalkeeper, and an entire nation lost itself in pure, unfiltered euphoria. And here is the part that almost no one ever mentions, because within 2 hours of that kickoff, emergency rooms across Germany began filling up, not with players but with fans, with the people who had just watched their team win. I'm Dr. Karen Francois, a board-certified anesthesiologist, and doctors studied this exact tournament and found that on the days the German team played, cardiac emergencies ran more than 2.5 times higher than normal. So before you settle in for the biggest match of this tournament, let me explain how sitting perfectly still on your couch can land you in that same emergency room. Let's talk about what's really happening when you're locked into a match that goes down to the wire. Your brain doesn't fully separate a real threat from a perceived one. So when it's tied deep into stoppage time, or worse, a penalty shootout, your body floods with adrenaline and cortisol exactly like it would if you were the one in physical danger. Your heart rate climbs, your blood pressure spikes, and your blood actually becomes a little stickier and more prone to clotting. That's an ancient survival response. And it's wonderful if you need to sprint away from something. It's a lot less wonderful if you're sitting motionless with a bag of chips and a set of arteries that already have some plaque built up inside them. Now stack on the other things people do while they watch. Heavy, salty food, which pulls more fluid into the bloodstream and pushes your pressure even higher. Alcohol, which messes with the heart's rhythm. Maybe a cigarette that only comes out on game night. Sleep you're cutting short because the match kicked off in another time zone. Each one of those is a small load on its own, and you're putting them all on the same system at the exact moment it's already under maximum stress. For most healthy people, that's just an uncomfortable, sweaty night. For someone with underlying heart disease they may not even know they have, that's the precise combination that tips a stable situation into a genuine cardiac event. And here's the part that surprises people the most. The risk isn't really about whether your team wins or loses, it's about how intensely you're emotionally invested and how close the match stays. A blowout is almost relaxing, win or lose, because the tension drains out of it early. It's the nail biter that goes to penalties, the one you physically cannot look away from, that does the real damage. The emotional swing is the stressor, not the final score on the board. Let me put it in terms I see clinically. When I'm in the operating room and a patient's stress response kicks in, I watch their numbers move in real time, and I have a dozen tools to bring them back down safely. On your couch, you have none of that. Nobody's monitoring your blood pressure during the second half. Nobody notices that your heart's been racing for an hour straight. The stress is just as real, But there's no one watching the monitors because there are no monitors. And I'm not telling you any of this to ruin the tournament for you. I genuinely want you to enjoy it. I'm telling you because the warning signs of a heart event get ignored constantly in exactly this setting. That pressure in your chest, that arm that suddenly feels heavy, that wave of nausea and cold sweat. People blame the food, blame the stress, blame the match, and they wait. In my world, waiting is the single thing that turns something survivable into something that isn't. So here's the takeaway. Your body doesn't know the difference between a championship match and a real crisis, and it'll respond to both with everything it's got. That's not a reason to stop watching the games you love. It's a reason to know your numbers, to go easy on the stuff that stacks the deck against you, and to take chest pain seriously even when the timing feels ridiculous. The people who do well in an emergency are almost always the ones who didn't talk themselves out of calling for help. Don't let a match be the reason you waited.
Like and follow for more.